some very high goal scoring games, and it just really doesn't end as well. Before arriving at Japan, Postecoglou already had an impressive record in his home country, helping Brisbane Roar secure a 36 unbeaten match streak and the first Asian Cup title for the national team. With admirable achievements to his name, he was appointed to the managerial spot of Yokohama in 2017. In 2019, he won the J-League with Yokohama and a mid-table finish was expected. It was their first title in 15 years, and now for the 2021-22 season, he will be the head coach of Celtic in Scotland, something for their fans to look forward to. So in this video, we are going to analyse his tactics in Football Manager. We are going to recreate that and look at the results. Spoiler alert, the results were absolutely amazing. We scored plenty of goals, a very entertaining tactic. So before we get stuck into all of that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It would help me out a lot. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Also like this video, that is most important. You can share the video as well, and also leave a comment with your tactical recommendations. But now let's get started. His 4-2-3-1 formation has something special about it with the way that he chose to play your roles. One of the most noticeable roles that played a crucial part in how Yokohama played was the inverted wingbacks, where they spent more of the time working inside the half space while leaving the wide spaces for the wingers up front. The central defenders were also used as two ball playing defenders as they aimed to distribute the ball forward with their passing abilities. This allowed the team to control possession more often during the build up phases, which showed why they were able to hold an average of 63% possession and registered 5.53 passes per possession. And now let's talk about how they build up. Yokohama relied heavily on building their attacks from the back with the involvement of two centre-backs. Alongside them, one of the pivots would also drop deep, either in between the centre-backs or moved a bit towards the left side, and created a three-man build-up with them. This allowed the team to have an immediate passing triangle, which provided to be useful against teams who pressed high up the pitch. By keeping the distance between each other close enough, they maintained a close support range, which eliminated the need of making longer passes that had a low accuracy rate. Also, it helped them to link up with the remaining pivot, who would then become the focal point whenever they wanted to progress the ball forward. At times, the goalkeeper was also involved in the build-up as the team aimed to build up from deep. In the role of a sweeper keeper, the goalkeeper had the license to roam inside the box and receive the ball more often. There, he had the option to play a more direct ball towards an advanced option or keep things short by laying it off to either a centre-back or a wing-back. Another thing to note about their build-up strategy is that they were happy to move the ball quite slowly and attempt to find pockets of space where they can send the ball. When playing against a low block, the pivots will form a midfield line along with the wing-backs and attempted to get one of the opposition defence lines out of the defensive shape. They moved closer towards the ball carrier and thus creating a gap between the lines for the attackers to move into. One thing that could be seen from Marcos Jr., the attacking midfielder's involvement in the team's build-up, is that he tended to drop deep to receive the ball. Very deep from his position, as he was willing to show inside the team's half when either one of the centre-backs held the ball. He would then create a passing triangle with them the same way as one of the pivots did. As he attempted to do so, his movements would drag along one of the opposition's midfielders, which could create space between the players and allow his teammates to move into. In addition to the attacker mid's position during the build-up phase, it's worth noticing that one of the pivots was willing to position himself right behind the first line of pressure. This asks a question of the opposition as he attracts the attention of both forwards and the midfielders when he's positioned between their defensive lines. It also allows his teammates in midfield to push higher while still retaining good passing connections with the pivot himself. Furthermore, it means when his defenders find him with a pass, they've often broken one of the opponent's defensive lines. But that's how they build up. Now we're going to talk about their main attacking principles. As they progressed the ball into the opposition's half, the main principle that allowed the players to continue the team's attack was intelligent movements to either create or take advantage of space. Amid the fact that they tended to circulate the ball quite slow, this helped the ball carrier to have a quick scan of the field and, therefore, pick out a teammate who was in a good position to pick up possession. In the shot, it can be seen that one of Yokohama's players noticed the narrow pressing structure of FC Tokyo and immediately picked out a gap out wide. As he moved into the gap, he also received a through ball from the defender that allowed him to play up the pitch, which allowed the right winger to continue his run up the wing. No matter if the opposition's defensive line intended to stay narrow or not, the striker and both wingers would attempt to position themselves high as possible with the intention of pinning the defense line down. As shown in the scenario, the attackers formed a line and positioned themselves just before Tokyo's defensive line to keep themselves from being caught in the offside trap. Their positions, though, still allowed them to sit on the shoulder of the defenders and turn up at the end of their teammates' through balls. Another intention of this strategy is again creating space between the opposition's defense lines. Along with their teammates' movements, the attackers' positioning would force the defenders to drag back and leave a gap between the lines. This allowed the likes of the attacking midfielder or central midfielder to enter the gap and become viable passing options in order to help the team progress the ball up the pitch. The positioning of both wingers can be fascinating. They were happy to be in an offside position as they attempted to drag the defence line further back. This ties back to their tactic of bursting forward on the ball. As mentioned earlier, Yokohama's tactic had a heavy reliance on the involvement of the inverted wingbacks. Postecoglou had two natural wingbacks who'd overlap up the pitch and join the attack whilst also tracking back to form a back four defensive line. They tended to stay quite narrow though, either on or off the ball, and position themselves in the half space more often. This allowed the wingers to stretch the pitch and occupy the wide spaces, which would stretch the opposition's defensive line. With them being wing orientated majority of the time, their involvement in the attack played a crucial role in overloading both wings to give either the winger or wingback a solid option to lay off the ball. Also, they had the tendency of making many crosses into the box. On average, the team registered 17 crosses per game and 5 more compared to the opponent's average of 13. These stats are from the 2019-20 J-League season. Against low blocks, the strategy of making early crosses into the box benefited the side as they attempted to get the ball into the box. With both wingers still positioned on the shoulder of the defenders, they could turn up at the end of the crosses by beating their marker and entering the 6-yard box to make a close range shot. This tactic though was only used when they found themselves on the back foot when playing against teams who deployed a low block, which meant it was not implemented too often. Their preferred way of getting the ball into the box was still through movements and positional interchanging of the wingbacks and wingers, which allowed them to bring the ball along with them to find advanced options in the box. But that's their attacking principles. We are now going to move on to their defensive principles. Off the ball, Yokohama would form either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1 defensive shape in the middle of the pitch. They would play a high block and aim to win the ball up high up the field. Along with that, it is required that defenders also pushed higher and looked to position themselves near the halfway line. This allowed the midfielders to join the strikers in the high press, helping them force clearances and long balls. In terms of width, they aim to keep the shape quite wide in order to occupy both the central area and the wide space. It also helped them cut in the possible passing lanes towards the middle third, which forced the opposition to circulate the ball inside their own defensive third and send long balls that both centre backs could deal with. They deployed an offside trap along with a high defensive line. This required the defenders to understand each other whilst also being able to hold their positions, not allowing the striker to attack the space behind the defensive line. When the opposition entered the half with the ball, it was possible to see the players attempting to create an overload in front of the ball carrier and press him. With a numerical superiority, it was possible for them to execute the plan without the thought of being dominated by the opposition. Still, there was one thing that they did not have in their mind during this type of situation. The press was a bit conservative as the players did not show the aggressive attitude that was needed to recover possession and not commit too many fouls. While many did not expect Yokohama to go all the way and claim the trophy, the success the Nissan-owned club experienced this season produced many raised eyebrows along the way. Postecoglou still managed to deploy a fascinating tactical model that relied on inverted wingbacks, high press and intelligent movements. Only time would tell how well he can do in Scotland with Celtic, but they do have a lot to look forward to. That there wraps up the tactical analysis. We are now going to move over to Football Manager to look at the tactic that I recreated and also the amazing results that this tactic produced. So now, let's head over. So here is RDF's Ange Postecoglou's 4-2-3-1 tactic at Celtic. I will be explaining minor tweaks along the way as well, so make sure you keep your ears glued. For the team mentality, we are using the positive mentality. We do want to put our own stamp on the game, and we do want to try and dominate the game along with the possession. For the attacking width, we are set to fairly narrow, so we are going to channel our play through the central areas, not exclusively though. We can still play the ball out wide of course, but mainly we are going to be looking to play through those central zones. For the approach play, we are going to be playing out from the defence. Of course, we want our midfielders to drop, especially the deep line playmaker, and I want him to drop to try and form a triangle between the two ball playing defenders, and that should help us to be able to progress the ball up a little bit more easier. Also, you can use overlap on the left and overlap on the right to give you some more attacking options if you do want to. I didn't really have to do it because I felt that naturally it did so, especially with the positive mentality, but that is a tweak that you can do if you want your team to be more aggressive or have more attacking options. In real life, Postecoglou's wingbacks still overlapped even though they were inverted. They spent most of the times in the half spaces, but they did have the ability to underlap or overlap the wingers. For the passing directness, we are going to leave it on standard, reason being we are going to be using a slightly lower tempo, so we don't necessarily need shorter passing as we are going to be building up in a slow manner anyway, and we are a possession based side. Our ball playing defenders can play that defense splitting pass and they can take more risks, but with the lower tempo, they aren't going to have that urgency to keep playing that on a regular basis. So I didn't feel that I needed to use shorter passing as the positive mentality aims to knock the ball about anyway, and we are using a slightly lower tempo. In the final third, we are going to be working the ball into the box, try and be patient around the box and try and break the opposition down rather than sending in pointless crosses and also pointless long shots. Also, for the dribbling, we are going to be running at the defence. We're going to try and bring the ball forward, and that can also help us find some better passing options. In transition, when the possession has been lost, we are going to counter press as soon as we lose the ball. We want to win the ball back as soon as possible, but when the possession has been won, we don't have any instructions. The players will make the decisions when to break and when to hold their shape. So with the deep line playmaker with the defensive duty, I am expecting him to hold his shape, whilst with the wingers on the attacking duty, I do expect them to break and get further forward. When the goalkeeper is in possession, he is going to look to distribute it to either the fullbacks or the central defenders. Lastly, for out of possession, we are going to be using the offside trap with a much higher defence line. We do want our defenders to be near enough the halfway line, and as you can see with this little demonstration here, our defensive line is near enough to the halfway line. We are also using a higher line of engagement because we still want that high press, and the defensive width is set to force the opposition inside. We want our defensive width to be wide, so then we can cover the wide areas and also the central zones. For the marking and tackling, we are using the tighter marking. For the pressing intensity is slightly more urgent. Postecoglou's side wasn't aggressive in their pressing, so in Football Manager of course we aren't also going to be that aggressive. As we all know, increasing the pressing intensity in Football Manager 2021 may also improve your result. So if your results aren't as good, then I do suggest you to increase that pressing intensity. And during this test, I didn't actually increase the intensity myself, though at times I definitely should have. Now for the player roles. In goal, we have a sweeper keeper on the supportive duty. On the support duty, the sweeper keeper will stray just outside the penalty area and look to play counter-attacking passes as well, also helping our build-up in the build-up phase. In central defence, we have two ball-playing defenders. Our left wing back is an inverted wing back on the support duty, so too is our right wing back as well. In central midfield, our double pivot, we have a deep line playmaker on the defensive duty. He's going to come back and drop deep to collect the ball, but also he is going to help us form that 4-1-4-1 defensive shape as well. And his midfield partner is the box-to-box midfielder on the supportive duty. On either flanks, we have a winger on the attacking duty. They both are going to be crossing the ball and aiming it at the far post, mainly aiming for each other. So the right winger may cross to the far post and look for the left winger, and the left winger, well, vice versa. And in attacking midfield, we do have the advanced playmaker on the support duty. Really, I do want him to drop deep, just like in real life. Yokohama's attacking midfielder dropped really deep when the ball playing defenders had the ball. He would come as deep as the deep line playmaker would, to do the same thing, form a triangle with the two centre backs, and that there in turn can create space if one of the opponent's midfielder chooses to follow him. That could then leave space for the box-to-box midfielder to exploit. And lastly, up top, we do have the advanced forward. He's going to be closing down more, setting the pressing tempo. But that there is the tactic wrapped up. We are now going to check the results, the amazing results that this tactic produced for Celtic. Of course, we are Celtic, so we are expecting to win the league in Scotland. We are expected to do well, but just how well can we do? Let's check. So in the Scottish Premiership, we can see that Celtic were the champions. We played 38, we won 32 of those games, a goal difference of plus 97, absolutely ridiculous, and the points tally is on 100. In the UEFA Champions League, we did finish third, so it's not really that bad. Our board expectation was just to reach the playoffs, but we made the group stages, and also we didn't finish bottom. We actually qualified for the Europa League, which we then got knocked out in the second round anyway. We got past the first knockout stages, but then the second round against Shakhtar Donetsk was just too much for handle. In the Scottish Cup, we won that, and the Betfred Cup, we also won that, so we finished the season as treble winners. And here we can have a quick skim through some of the results. We started the season with a 5-0 win and a 3-0 win. We went on a very good winning streak, especially in the Champions League qualifying round as well. Our first draw came at home to Livingston, where we drew 2-2. Our first loss came against St Johnstone away, where we lost 2-0. We also got smashed in the Champions League as well in the group stages, 4-1 away. But we did beat Rangers, our rivals, 4-2 in the Premiership. We also beat St Mirren 4-2 as well. But if you look at some of the results, we had some very high scoring results. As you can see here in the League Cup second round, we beat Ayr United 5-3. We also beat St Johnstone 7-3. We won 5-0 here. We won 7-0. There's a 4-0 here, a 4-1, 6-1, 5-0. Some very high goal scoring games, and it just really doesn't end as well. Here we beat St Johnstone again, but this time we beat them 4-0. We beat Dundee United 4-0 as well. We have a 6-0 win here against Dundee again. In the Europa League, the first leg is what really killed us. We went away to Shakhtar and we lost 3-0, but in the home tie, we did win 3-1. So if we did get an away goal, we could have took them to extra time, or if we kept the clean sheet at home as well, we could have took them to extra time as well. So fine margins, we could have progressed in the Europa League. But in the Premiership, we had the most points per game. Of course we did. We had the most goals. We scored 120 goals in the Scottish Premiership. And the team that came in second is only on 74. So that just shows the attacking intent and shows how many goals you can actually score using this tactic in FM. We had the most shots for, 840. We had the few shots against, 187. Our pass completion is on 89%, but we had the highest average possession with 60%. For the most tackles won, we aren't in the top 8, probably because we had the ball most of the time, so we didn't really need to make tackles. For the dribbles made, we topped that table with 124. We had the most clean sheets, 25 clean sheets, and the fewest conceded were 23. Now, I was going to actually say one of the weak links about this tactic is the defence. You can concede a fair few. Of course, in the Scottish Premiership, Celtic are just levels above most of the teams, so that is certainly something to look out for. For our expected goals as well, we topped that table with 98.69. For the players, Edouard was the top goal scorer in the Scottish Premiership. For the assist, we have Ryan Christie on 12, we have Mohamed on 12 as well. They are 2 of the top 3 assists in the table. We have Edouard, who made the most shots. For the most player of the match awards, David Turnbull is there with 5. For the most key passes, Ryan Christie, Mohamed, David Turnbull and John Joe Kenny are all in the top 8. For the best pass completion, we have 2 of our defenders both on 96%. With the most tackles won, none of our players on the top 8. For the most dribbles made, Mohamed is there, Diogo Laxalt is also there. One is on 27 and the other is on 26. For the most clean sheets, Barkas has 25 clean sheets and he also conceded the fewest. So now we're going to look at the team report. For the goals scored, how did we score most of our goals? 52 from play shots, 15 from powerful shots, 12 from headers, 10 from penalties, and with the assist, 18 from through balls, which was the most, 14 from corners, 12 from short passes, 11 from crosses, and 6 from the opposition mistake. So you can see that our assist types were all different. We had the ability to score many different types of goals. Now lastly, we are going to check who are the best performers in our Celtic team. So for the top goal scorers, you can see that we have 7 players in double figures, which is absolutely incredible. Edouard scored 32, Lee Griffiths scored 24, James Forrest scored 21, David Turnbull, our attacking midfielder, scored 19, Mohamed scored 14, Diego Laxalt scored 12 and Ryan Christie scored 10. With the highest assists, our most creative players, you can see that Edouard is on 10, our striker, John Joe Kenny is on 11, our right inverted wing back, Callum McGregor got 11 assists, Mohamed got 16 and so did Ryan Christie. But unfortunately, that wraps up this video. The tactical analysis was written by Total Football Analysis, which the link will be in the description. If you do enjoy this type of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Make sure you like the video as well, that's most important. You can share it, that will help a lot, and also leave a comment with your tactical recommendations. I will speak to you guys soon, stay safe and see ya.